And we're here with the Yule Marathon, which we've been having so much fun with. And now we're going to talk to somebody very near and dear to my heart, one of my best friends out there in the world today, the Reverend Stephanie Leon Neal. But we're not going to talk to her in her capacity as a Reverend, but is this prolific and profound writer that she has developed. Yeah. Hi, Stephanie. Welcome aboard.
Hi, how are you?
And so why don't you go ahead and describe yourself out a little bit for people who don't know you yet and should.
Yes, they should. Yes, they should. Uh, a little bit about me. Essentially, I'm very old, but I have a very young heart and have had many experiences throughout my life and have traveled all the world. Well, not every single corner of the world, but
Mhm.
I've visited lots of different cultures, and that has resonated and formed me throughout my life. And I was trained by two root women when it started at 12 and ended at 18. But of course, I continued to stay on the spiritual realm in a sense. And I have had the honor to serve the Krillian tradition as the first priestess. And that's the Krillian tradition is everything that I didn't realize I needed. And so I am forever learning every day as I should. And
Okay.
I mean,
So
there's, I mean, like, I,
yeah,
because
she is a very modest woman. That was I thank you for giving us that much. You are you're shy and modest most of the time. And
I'm not shy. I'm just polite,
okay.
but modest maybe, because I'd rather be listening to what about you. I'd rather be listening to the person across from me than having to listen to myself, because I already know about myself.
Fair enough. And that's how people get to know more about you. And StephanieLeonNeal.com is where you can go, just their central location for everything that she's been doing. And let's go ahead and start out. You're a book writer, and I think you brought out a lot of great books. You know, and
Thank you.
Discovery of Tarot. Let's go ahead. So tell us a little bit about your books. Which ones are you looking at? You started out with the Discovery of Tarot, right? Or is there something
The very
else?
first book I wrote was the Untraining
Of the Sea Priestess? How could
of
we
the Sea
forget
Priest.
that? That's the one who broke all the ground, and is still so important today.
Yes, and it's a very practical book. One way to explore your awareness
Hmm.
and your approaches to life, and activities that you can try, because some folks like to have a hands-on experience to show how they approach life and how they deliver their gifts and how they deliver their skills. So it just helps a person uh, calibrate their vision, their missions, on how they want to approach. And hopefully they walk away from this book realizing that they are incredibly unique and has value, and to hopefully guide and teach others the same, that they too have value and maybe a different kind of skill or a different kind of value, but that's how the universe works. So that's the Sea Priestess. And yes, it is. Many of the teachings in here are the teachings that the root women taught me. But yet I always clarify that, because most of it was meditations through all those years. And when, or an activity related to meditation or some kind of exploration. And when I would then meet with them again, they would always say, now you tell me, now you teach me, you tell me what you experienced. And I thought, well, I thought it's supposed to be the other way around. Aren't you supposed to be teaching me? Aren't you supposed to be telling me? And they said, no, no. So that took a while for me to get adjusted to that, knowing
Mhm.
that I had to come with the goods, so to speak. And they were interested in what I received. So yeah, so that's that.
So you also have a group behind it. You have a number of people that who are support this. I mean, it's just not a book anymore. You actually have sea priestesses out there that have been trained through this and other
Yes,
processes, right?
yes. Other we have lots. Yes, we have many groups, and but the main group, not that they're the main, meaning that they're more important, but we have people groups that teach in Spanish, and others that teach in English, and it's it just touches my heart recognizing that this book has in fact touched their hearts, and a couple shrines even started a shrine based on this book. So it's just amazing. And when I have a chance to talk to graduates, because it is a several month training that you can sign up in the Krillian tradition, and then at the end of that training, you know, you're initiated as a full-fledged sea priestess, and yeah, so it's a good thing.
Yeah, it is a
It's
great thing.
yeah.
And so, but you don't just stop there. You're deep into tarot. So a lot of your books are tarot, right?
Oh, the Discovery Tarot Path. This is the second book I did, and uh,
It's interesting because it deals with tarot from what I think is a distinctly different point of view than most.
yeah, yes,
And that is through the inner symbolism within the deck, across the deck. Not the
yes,
deck itself, but within the deck itself. Am I describing that
exactly.
correctly? Okay.
Uh, that's that's better than I wrote it. I should have stolen that from you and put that in
Well,
there. But
it took me a couple of readings to get it. So yeah.
yes, I am currently almost finished with my second book about tarot, and I'm bringing in uh, many different approaches, so that because I recognize that not everyone aligns with or feels uh, the right sensibilities with some approaches. So but I always focus in on history, on the big names of the 1800s,
Hmm.
a few in the 1700s, uh, and up to, and I mostly focus in on the Waite Rider Smith deck, because they pulled in several of these decks themselves,
Hmm.
mostly because it was an assignment by the Golden Dawn. And just like Crawley was also a contemporary of Waite, and so he had someone else uh, paint his deck, just like Waite had someone else, Smith, otherwise called Pixie at the time, painted his deck, and that was allowed. It was just like there are people now that they have someone else do the artwork, and they just focus in on the book. So anyway, just I seeing which books they and decks they pulled from, I started from there and started studying, and then started going back. And to say and yes, that book it's going to be about this thick, I'm pretty sure. But I just
Hmm.
wanted all of that to come out, because I'm also going to add in that book, I'm pretty sure, this new approach to not the spreads themselves, but the position. Well, I guess the position spreads. Uh, Most people like the Celtic cross, and that's a very cool spread. But these are more about uh, questions, direct questions of a seeker, or let's say you have a court across from you. All right, you can have this spread, and then you put the card, and it doesn't matter how you have them set up on the table, but you put the tarot card on each spread. And so far, there's 9 of them that I came up with. And right now they're being produced as just spreads, but they're going to be spread cards. So they could be used with any deck, not just the tarot. So the reader reads the cord.
So that's something to really look forward to.
Well, thank you. And so basically, if you think about it, I'm letting the reader know, all right, you had the card to interpret, you had the question to interpret, which the answer is always in the question. You have the spread to answer these questions. So you have the card and the spread question, and just on and on, and the conversation that you hope that you land on between the seeker and the reader. So that's another thing I do. I try to identify all these different ways that you have lots to pull from, instead of a person looking at a card blankly staring at it and saying nothing's coming, nothing. Or this way you have lots to consider, so that when a person, and everyone gets a block once in a while, I'm not, that's fine, but just so that's what that is.
So Discovery of Tarot Path, that is the book that starts you on this journey.
Yes. This is about, once again, it's heavy into the symbols, but then so is this next one, because
well, we'll talk more about that one in depth when we get closer to it.
Okay.
And also, but you also wrote one, I think that's very important to a lot of people. It's the World Walker book.
Right.
The evolution of this one, I think, is really interesting. You've done a number of books, of course.
5 so far. And it's
so you can go to our site, Stephanie Leon Neal, for it. And let's talk about this one, the one you have in your hand.
Yes, and yet I'm hoping that every one of these books end up in witch school.
Oh, sure.
So that they're there and can be just disseminated in that way. Mm-hmm. And so I guess those are discussions we have to have at a later date. But that's what I'm hoping.
But we understand that. Well, to understand that, Lady Stephanie is basically made sure that witch school, sounds like a little cute name for most people, is really a very powerful seminary in its own right of the Correllian tradition that does produce nearly 5,000 clergy members across the world to our system. So when we don't talk lightly, and it sounds cute and everything, but we don't talk lightly when we talk about putting things up on witch school.
No.
So go ahead, let's go on.
Well, we just want the clergy members, and not just clergy, but also just people that are interested in metaphysical and Wicca, and we have many.
We have and in that case, we have over 290,000 people. Only a small fraction actually go for the clergy status. We have over 145 classes, and amongst them is tarot and other things. Plus, we have our Peggy's Tonight radio network, where we have radio versions of these types of materials. Oh, sure. This is behind you is a very strong teaching system. I mean, it's not just, we're not just playing here. You're not just playing here with just books. Books are just the tip of the iceberg, the tip of the spear that people can learn about you.
Yes.
At StephanieLeonNeal.com.
Because my priority is for as many people throughout the world can obtain this information to use it in their lives. That's it.
So we've been teasing them long enough. Let's show them the book.
Oh, okay. This one is the next evolutionary leap through meditation, and this is the World Walkers.
There you go. I think this one's really important. I think this is a distinction from everything else. You've written 2 other books, right? And but I think this one's a distinction in that you're looking at how the traditions that are around these ideas, and not just Correllian ideas, but a number of ideas on how we move forward in history, how we're going to move forward in that spirituality. The idea that we're making, once again, a jump. And I think people don't understand that throughout history, we've been maybe about, if you believe in evolution in any form, even if it's, God created us and then he sent us off to learn everything, to being born from, from what I believe the amoebas of the earth and we've kind of evolved, or any other way you want to believe in how we've come. We're constantly growing as creatures. That's the number one thing that you have to, regardless of your creation story. And I think this book tells us about the next creation story. I think this is a wildly distinctive book, very different than most of them, in the sense of they give a lot of focus and direction to what we can become.
Yes, and that we have control over what we want to become, even in future lives. And that's part of being a conscious incarnate. Another way that is deals with conscious being a conscious incarnate. First of all, everyone is. It's a matter of us, Krillians, witches, telling people that everyone has this ability, and just by informing them that you have so many, I like to call superpowers, and just like dogs have superpowers, like they can hear a cat walking across the street two blocks down. To me, I call that a superpower. But we as humans have several superpowers that is just being awakened now, or maybe has been awakened in the past, but now reawakening, and knowing that there is so much to learn about their own powers. And I break it down into several chapters talking about each approach. So in other words, each approach ends up with deity, of course. Each approach is in fact a way to evolve, but it's all different approaches that land in relatively the same place. Everyone ended up at that same ocean of consciousness. And so a person can focus in, and I call them doors. They can focus in on one door, and or house. I think I call them houses with this. Yeah, call them houses. The doors are something else. But the houses that a person, let's say, I'm going to approach my evolution by studying time magic, or I'm going to approach my evolution through becoming a conscious incarnate, even though that really is the end of everyone ends up, if they choose, being more aware, hyper aware of their own powers, then you become hyper aware of the value of everyone that you see and touch and talk to.
So I think so getting this book is going to start you on a path that I think a lot of us are going to go through. I think this is the beginning of a story, of another great story, and everything else. So you've been publishing, and what are the other two books? Just really quick. You have them?
Yeah.
Yep. Of course you do. Of course, you're a professional. and there's been this joke about today, this sort of thing.
Yes. This is called Finding Your Way Through Nature, the Krillian Shaman. And there are, once again, a group in teaches it in Spanish, and a group that teaches it in English. And it's a several months, and it's offered once a year. And this essentially, you go through just like the indigo door with the tarot, that you move through different exercises with this Krillian shaman, and you learn through hands-on experiences. That there's some teaching, yes, but it's all set up for you to experience certain things. Go collect stones that can glow. Now that could be a whole process for months and months, finding stones that you can put in the fire and they end up glowing. because that's testing the trial and error, but that through that whole process, people learn so much, or it's about hunting down a certain kind, or identifying the animals on your land. You may not own your land, but if you're living on the land, you're steward of that land. And
Sure,
so
absolutely.
it's important to identify what kind of animals are living with you, and plant life. So it goes on and on like that. It's like discovery. And then at the end, there's a beautiful surprise that all this goes together at the initiation.
So this is some great books. You need it for the library. You need them all there. And your last book, just to let everybody know, this one's a
This is,
fun book. I know this one,
yes, right, right.
but I think
This
it's
is
a good one. It's important.
yeah, well,
People like
um,
this.
it's the teacup oracle, and it's not that big. Uh, Essentially, it's a system that my grandmother taught me. She came from Scotland, still had the Scottish brawl.
Yeah.
They moved from Scotland to Canada, and then from Canada to the U.S. And as a child, she taught me lots of things, and then I added my approach to teacup interpretations of the teacup, or the tea leaves, and just have lots of little, I don't know, just little fun things that like a person could
Well, it
have.
makes you, being a teacup reader can make you the life of a party.
Yes,
Absolutely. So
yes,
you could
and
probably
that just, yeah.
yeah.
But
And
you just have, you could have high tea if you like, because I at the temple here, 1 month we had high tea, and it was really fun. Everybody did it together. Everybody was reading each other's cup, and we tried different approaches, because I do have many approaches about, like I will put numbers, paint numbers inside a teacup. And these cups that I did, these different paintings, are like big cups. So it's like real obvious. And I mostly did that for teaching purposes, so everyone can see the numbers. And that whatever the largest or most interesting shapes fall on a particular number, then that's the number, or let's say there's more than one number that really stands out, the tea leaves are pointing to, well, then we will interpret numerology. And the same, we have another cup with colors, and we do
Mhm.
the same thing, just interpreting what the color, color represents. So
It's
just,
a lot of
yeah.
fun. And so you should probably get that. That one's a good stocking stuffer for tea lovers, you know. Can you imagine being there on Yule and Christmas morning, and you have your book out and you're kind of interpreting? So there you go, Stephanie Leon Neal .com. My last question I always ask: do you have any particular celebrations this year for Yule?
Celebrations, we have people coming over, the members of the temple, and we try to, we usually play games. We just have fun, and we do like that game where everybody puts their a little gift that's not expensive, just something fun.
Santa
And
swap or something like that?
yes, yes, and just
A lot of
everybody
fun.
just, yes, it's a lot of fun, and just being uh, with family, and I do like to spend time walking in the woods, even though I'm terribly allergic now to the woods. That's upsetting, but still, I figure out ways to get in there,
Mm.
because I do live. Part of my property has I have a lot of woods on my property, so yeah, but especially when the colder weather comes in, even though I live in Georgia, so it doesn't get that cold, but there are cold days, and that kind of taps down all the allergic things flying in the air. So I try to hope that around Yule, I can say, oh, yes, I can celebrate the earth, and all that it means to me by walking through these beautiful woods, but hope that nothing's flying in the air, kind of thing, like allergens. But yeah, I figure out things to make things happen.
There you go. And so there we are, Yule, Stephanie Leon Neal, and .com. Go there, check out all the books, and of course buy some. I think that a Teacup Oracle is perfect for a Yule gift. And her other books are deep and important to be there. So as always, I'll leave you the last word. My guest for the last word. And do you have one?
I always have a last word. I can't help myself. Right now, I'm almost done with a tarot deck that has nothing to do with Waite Rider Smith. Nothing. So it's almost like here I've spent all these years researching and studying Waite Rider Smith, and now I swing over to the opposite end and just have come up with something that has nothing to do with Waite Rider Smith, because that's how tarot can work that way. So that's super exciting that I am almost done with the artwork.
And by this time next year, we'll be talking about it.
Right.
All right, folks, blessed be, and having a great Yule, I hope. And we're going to continue on with our shopping.